The transport ship drifted quietly through the outer rim of human space. It was an old vessel, patched many times over, carrying crates of supplies for a small colony. Among the small crew was Ryan, a young technician whose days usually passed in silence among wires, tools, and humming engines. He never dreamed of adventure. To him, the galaxy was too large and too full of danger. He preferred the comfort of machines that always obeyed when repaired with patient hands. That day, the stars looked calm through the viewport, but the calm did not last. The ship's sensors lit up with warning lights. Ryan felt the floor tremble beneath his boots. A voice called from the control deck, sharp and afraid. "Unidentified ships closing fast. They are not answering our signals." Ryan hurried to the front, heart beating faster. The crew gathered at the controls, staring at the screen. Sleek shapes were cutting through the black of space. They moved like predators, swift and silent. Their silver hulls reflected the starlight in strange patterns. No human design looked like that. One of the crew whispered, "Aliens." The word felt heavy. Encounters with unknown species were rare, but every story told of fear and loss. Ryan had never seen them with his own eyes, and part of him hoped he never would. The alien ships surrounded the transport with ease. A bright field of light spread across the view, blocking every escape path. The pilot tried to turn the engines, but nothing answered. Controls froze as though the ship was caught in a giant net. Panic filled the air. Ryan gripped the side of a chair to steady himself. He wanted to run, but where could he go on a ship already trapped? The lights around them grew brighter, flooding the cabin. A low hum filled the air, pressing against their ears and bones. Then came the boarding. Walls of light sliced through the ship's hull without tearing metal. Shapes stepped inside, tall and strange. Their forms were covered in armor that flowed like liquid. Their eyes glowed with a cold brightness. None of them spoke. They moved with perfect order, and every step made the crew shrink back. The humans tried to resist. One raised a tool as a weapon, but the aliens only waved a device, and the tool dropped as if pulled by unseen hands. Another crew member shouted for peace, but no answer came. Within minutes, the crew was gathered in the center of the transport. Ryan kept his head low, heart racing. He wondered if this was the end of his life. He thought of his home world far away, of the quiet mornings when he fixed broken harvest machines, of the simple laughter of people who never thought about empires and wars. He wondered if he would ever see them again. The aliens divided the crew into groups. Their strange devices glowed with faint light, scanning each human. When the beam touched Ryan, it paused. The alien who held the scanner tilted its head, then gestured. Two guards approached and pulled Ryan away from the others. "Wait. No, he is only a technician," one of the crew shouted, but the guards ignored the words. Ryan felt his feet drag against the floor as they carried him away. He did not fight. His arms shook, and fear froze his strength. The last thing he saw of his shipmates was their worried faces, fading into the distance as the corridor swallowed him. The alien vessel was vast, far larger than any station Ryan had known. Its walls curved with smooth design, glowing with soft light as though alive. He was taken through long passages where other prisoners walked, silent and afraid. Yet none were taken in the same way he was. They were led in groups, but he was alone. At last the guards brought him into a wide hall. The air was heavy, filled with a faint, sweet scent he could not name. The ceiling arched high above, covered in symbols that shifted like moving stars. At the far end, a tall figure stood upon a raised platform. She was different from the others. The aliens around her bowed low, yet she did not move. Her eyes glowed brighter, her crown-like headpiece shimmered with threads of living light. Though alien in form, there was no doubt this was their leader. The guards stopped and pushed Ryan to his knees. He looked up, trembling. The Queen's gaze settled on him, sharp and searching. She studied him for a long moment, and when she finally spoke, her voice was clear, resonant, and carried across the chamber without effort. Though her words were alien, his mind seemed to shape them into meaning, as though something inside the air itself translated. "You are human." Ryan swallowed hard. "Yes." The Queen tilted her head. "Your kind resists without power. You struggle against forces greater than yourselves. You explore though death follows. Tell me, why do you continue?" The question pierced Ryan deeper than any weapon. He did not know why he, a simple technician, was asked such a thing. He wanted to remain silent, to hide, to disappear. Yet the weight of her gaze left him no choice. His voice shook, but he answered. "Because we hope. Even when we are weak, we keep moving. We hold to each other. We want to see what lies beyond." The hall fell silent. The guards shifted, uneasy. The Queen leaned forward, her eyes narrowing, not with anger but with surprise. She expected fear, perhaps silence. She had not expected such words. Ryan lowered his head, unsure if he had doomed himself with honesty. Yet in that moment, something changed in the air of the chamber. The Queen did not strike him down. She remained still, thoughtful, as though his answer was not what she had prepared for. For the first time since his capture, Ryan felt a spark of strange courage. He realized that even as a prisoner, his words still belonged to him. Ryan's legs felt heavy as he was guided further into the alien ship. Every corridor seemed longer than the last. The walls glowed with soft, shifting light that made the metal feel alive. His hands brushed against smooth panels that hummed faintly. Each step was accompanied by a strange pulse in the air, a rhythm that matched the quick beating of his heart. He did not speak. The guards kept their hands lightly on his arms, and Ryan understood that resistance would be useless. Still, his mind raced. What did the Queen want to know? Why him, a simple technician, instead of one of the soldiers or the ship's leaders? He could only guess. The passageway opened into a massive chamber, far larger than anything Ryan had ever seen. The ceiling arched high above, curving like a dome of liquid silver. Strange patterns of light floated across the walls, forming shapes that changed and shifted as if they had a life of their own. In the center of the room, a platform rose, carved from a single piece of metal that gleamed even under the soft light. And upon that platform stood the alien Queen. Her presence filled the chamber. Even from the distance of the stairs, Ryan could feel her power. She was taller than any human, with a body both elegant and commanding. Her armor glimmered with threads of living light, like moving stars stitched into fabric. Her headpiece stretched high, crowned with curves and angles that seemed impossible to create. But it was her eyes that held him in place. They glowed faintly, not in anger, but in curiosity, in study. The Queen's attendants knelt on the floor, their heads bowed. They did not speak. None dared move without her command. She raised a hand, and the guards released Ryan, leaving him standing alone on the cold metal floor. "You have come far, human," she said. Her voice was not loud, but it carried through the chamber as if the air itself carried it. "And yet, you do not tremble with fear. You do not beg for your life. Why is this?" Ryan swallowed. He remembered the fear in his own chest, the panic as the alien ship surrounded the transport, and the terror of the unknown. Yet, somehow, standing here before the Queen, he felt a strange calm. He spoke carefully, "Because I have no choice but to face what comes. I am afraid, but I must keep moving." The Queen's gaze did not waver. She stepped down from the platform with quiet grace. Every movement she made was deliberate, controlled, and without haste. She circled him slowly, her eyes studying every detail: the way he stood, the tension in his hands, the faint tremor in his voice. "You are small," she said, almost to herself. Your body is weak, your weapons primitive. And yet, you survive. You endure. You speak with a boldness that is unfamiliar to my people. What is this that drives you? Ryan paused, thinking. We survive because we care, he said finally. Because we hope for tomorrow. Because we protect each other. Because we do not give up even when the odds are against us. The Queen stopped in front of him. Her eyes narrowed, not in anger but in disbelief. You speak of qualities that are meaningless to the strong. We rule because we are stronger. We conquer because weakness has no value. And yet, you claim these feelings give you strength. Ryan nodded, his voice steady. Yes. Strength is not only in power. It is in choosing to keep going. In protecting what we love. In facing the impossible and still moving forward. A murmur ran through the attendants at the edge of the chamber. None had heard such words from a human before. They tilted their heads, exchanging glances filled with confusion. One of them whispered, but the Queen's presence silenced them instantly. She studied Ryan for a long moment, and something shifted in her expression. She had seen countless species. She had ruled over thousands of worlds. And yet, this human, small and fragile, had offered her something she could not calculate. Curiosity, loyalty, hope, she said slowly, testing the words on her tongue. You humans value things that my people consider irrelevant. Yet, you survive where many stronger species fail. How do you explain this? Ryan looked around the chamber, taking in the flowing lights and the strange symbols that seemed to float in the air. We do not measure life only by strength or victory, he said. We measure it by meaning. We fight not only to survive, but to live fully. To protect others. To see what is beyond our reach. The Queen's attendants shifted again, unsettled by his words. They had never considered life this way. For them, existence was about control, power, and survival alone. And here was a human, speaking as if the fragility of life was its own strength. The Queen inclined her head slightly. Interesting, she said. You do not know your own power, yet you wield it? Your words, they are weapons as sharp as any blade. Ryan's heart raced. He did not know if she meant it as a compliment or a warning. He remained still, knowing that any sudden movement could be interpreted as defiance. You will remain in this chamber, she continued. You will answer my questions. You will tell me of your world, your people, your thoughts. And perhaps, in time, I will understand what makes humans unique. Ryan nodded. I will answer, he said. Even in chains, he realized that this was his chance to show what humans could be. Not with weapons, not with force, but with mind, heart, and courage. The Queen stepped back, and the guards moved to a corner, leaving him space. For the first time, Ryan felt that he was not just a prisoner. He was an observer, a teacher, and perhaps even a challenge to this alien ruler. He did not know what would come next, but he knew he would not give up. The chamber was quiet, except for the soft hum of the ship. Ryan's mind raced with questions. Would she believe him? Would she see humans as weak or as something stronger than they seemed? And could one human change the mind of an entire empire? Ryan had spent the first night in the chamber under the Queen's watchful gaze. The walls seemed to breathe with soft light, casting moving shadows across the floor. Sleep was uneasy. He lay on a narrow platform, his body stiff from hours of standing, and yet his mind refused to rest. He kept replaying the Queen's words, her questions, and her silent observation. When the first light of the ship's internal glow filled the chamber, he was awakened not by a voice, but by the presence of the Queen herself. She had entered without warning, her movements silent and deliberate, like a predator walking among prey yet without intent to strike. You are awake, she said, her voice calm, almost curious. Good. We will begin again. Ryan stood quickly, steadying himself. He did not bow, but he did not step forward either. He wanted to appear respectful without showing fear. The queen regarded him closely, her glowing eyes studying every movement. Yesterday, you spoke of hope, loyalty, and choice, she began. Your words puzzled me. Your people risk themselves even when the outcome is uncertain. You value meaning over survival. I wish to understand this further. Tell me, human, why do you risk life for strangers? Ryan considered carefully. He did not want to give the answer she expected. He wanted to speak truthfully, not as a captive trying to survive. Because, he said slowly, life is shared. What we do affects others. We protect strangers because they may become friends. We care because caring gives life value. If we survive alone, it is only a hollow victory. The queen's eyes narrowed slightly. She leaned forward, her posture commanding yet cautious. Value, she repeated. A concept so easily discarded by stronger species. Strength is measured by dominance. Power decides survival. And yet, you claim that the weak, the fragile, and the kind may endure more than the strong. How do you prove this? Ryan's heart raced. He had no proof, no records, no technology to show her. All he had was his mind and the stories of his people. Our history is full of examples, he said. Small groups of humans have survived floods, famines, attacks by stronger species, even when all seemed lost. We endure because we adapt, because we work together, and because we choose to keep going. A faint ripple moved across the queen's attendants. They whispered among themselves in low tones, astonished that a single human could speak of endurance without fear. Their language held no word for courage that came from choice rather than instinct. Their society measured only strength and efficiency. The queen held up a hand, silencing them instantly. She turned back to Ryan. You speak of choice. You speak of hope. And yet, you are small, fragile, and unarmed. Your words alone may not save you from my empire. Why should I believe them to be powerful? Ryan looked into her eyes without blinking. He felt the weight of expectation pressing on him, but he did not falter. Because our choices shape us. Because hope can inspire action. Because even the smallest among us can change the outcome if we refuse to give up. You cannot measure this with weapons or armor, yet it is real. It is our strength, even if you cannot see it. The queen's expression shifted. She had seen many species. She had ruled over many worlds. She had watched weaker beings crushed without thought. And yet, here stood a human who spoke as if fragility itself was a shield. For the first time, she felt something unfamiliar, doubt. You are bold, she said softly. Bold and foolish. Your kind faces death without hesitation. You confront the unknown with, what, exactly? Confidence. Ignorance. Or something deeper. Ryan took a breath, steadying his voice. We face it because we must. Because if we do not, there is no tomorrow. Because to survive without purpose is not living. We act with hope and with reason, but also with heart. That is what makes humans different. We are not the strongest, but we endure, and we create meaning in the struggle. The queen took a step back, crossing her arms. She studied him, her mind working faster than any human could follow. The human's answers were not scripted. They were not carefully calculated attempts at persuasion. They were real. And that reality was unsettling. You speak as if the universe has a moral order, she said, yet chaos governs all. Strength wins. Weakness perishes. And still, you insist that your people survive. Tell me this: what if your hope fails? What then? Ryan's eyes did not falter. He thought of the countless humans who had faced calamity and still pressed on. Then we keep trying, he said. Even if hope fails, we continue because giving up is worse than failure. We learn, we adapt, and we protect each other. That is what makes hope strong. It does not depend on certainty, only on action. A ripple of murmurs went through the Queen's attendants again. They could not understand why a species so fragile could possess such quiet determination. One of them whispered, "Why does he speak without fear?" The Queen's eyes flicked to the speaker, and the alien fell silent. She turned back to Ryan, studying him as if he were an unfamiliar phenomenon. "You are a puzzle," she said finally. "Your people possess a force we have not measured. Not in strength, not in weaponry, not in fleets. Something intangible. Something that eludes even my understanding." Ryan felt a small flicker of pride, tempered by caution. He knew she was not praising him. She was curious, calculating, trying to understand what could not be calculated. He nodded slowly. "Perhaps it cannot be measured. Perhaps that is why it surprises you. It is not about strength, it is about choice and perseverance. We endure because we choose to endure." The Queen took a deep breath, her glowing eyes dimming slightly. "Interesting," she said. "Your words may not save you now, human, yet they carry a weight that I cannot ignore. I expected silence, fear, or deceit. Instead, I find truth. That is, unexpected." Ryan lowered his gaze respectfully. "I speak only what I know," he said. "I cannot lie, even to survive. That would be to abandon myself." The Queen stepped back and raised her hands. The attendants knelt, and the chamber returned to its quiet rhythm. She looked down at Ryan with something like contemplation. "You will remain in this chamber. You will answer more questions, and perhaps, in time, I will understand your kind. But know this: you are not merely observed. You are studied, tested in ways that go beyond what you see. Your answers matter more than you imagine." Ryan nodded. He realized that his fate rested not in strength or weapons, but in the truth of his words. He had already begun a battle no blade could win, a battle of understanding. And in that, he felt a strange courage, one that no alien could take from him. As the Queen turned and left the chamber, the attendants falling silent behind her, Ryan stood alone. The glow of the walls reflected in his eyes, and he felt the weight of what lay ahead. Each question, each answer, each choice would determine not only his survival but perhaps the understanding of an entire empire. Days passed aboard the alien flagship. Time moved strangely here, measured not by sunlight or clocks, but by the rhythm of the ship itself. Ryan no longer counted hours, only the moments between the Queen's visits. Each time she summoned him, he felt a mixture of fear and anticipation. What questions would she ask today? What would she seek to understand about humans? He had learned to observe the chamber, to notice details that were easy to miss. The walls pulsed gently, as if alive, and the symbols etched in the metal shifted in patterns he could not decipher. The attendants moved silently, their glowing eyes always attentive. And the Queen, always watching, sometimes spoke, sometimes remained silent, letting Ryan fill the space with his words. When she entered that morning, she seemed different. Her steps were measured but lighter, almost hesitant. Her glowing eyes lingered on him longer than usual. For the first time, Ryan sensed curiosity not mixed with command, but with genuine interest. "You speak often of your world," she said, her voice soft but resonant. "Of families, communities, and lives shared. Tell me more. What does it mean for humans to care for each other?" Ryan thought for a moment. He recalled the simple things: meals shared around a fire, the laughter of children chasing each other in open fields, the way people help neighbors rebuild after storms. "Caring is everything," he said. "It binds us. It gives meaning to our struggles. Even when life is hard, we help because we know someone might do the same for us. It is not weakness. It is strength born of choice." The queen's attendants shifted quietly, their forms tense. Such ideas were foreign to them. They had never considered that a small, fragile species could possess a force so subtle, so unmeasured. The queen tilted her head, a gesture that seemed to suggest she was thinking deeply. "You speak as if emotions are weapons," she said. "Yet emotions make humans vulnerable. Do you not fear what you feel?" Ryan shook his head. "Fear is part of life. Sadness is part of life. Without them, there is no joy, no courage. Feeling does not make us weak. It gives us purpose. We endure not because we do not fear, but because we choose to act even when we do." The queen studied him in silence. Her glowing eyes seemed to search his mind, as though seeking the source of this strange human resilience. Ryan realized she was not merely testing his words, she was testing his honesty, the truth of his convictions. "You speak of endurance," she said at last. "Yet your species is so small. Your technology limited. Your strength minimal. How can you endure against forces that could destroy you?" Ryan's lips pressed together briefly, then he answered calmly. "We endure because we are adaptable. We learn. We use what we have. And we rely on each other. One human alone is weak, but humans together, we are more than our size or weapons. We survive because we do not give up." The queen's attendants whispered again, exchanging uneasy glances. They had never heard a creature speak of survival this way. Their empire measured survival only by conquest, strength, and strategy. Yet here was a human claiming victory through choice, hope, and cooperation. The queen stepped closer. "Tell me of your leaders," she said. "How do humans decide who guides them? Is it strength, intellect, or emotion?" Ryan thought of the colonies, of the people who work together to solve problems. Leadership comes from those who serve, not those who command. Humans follow those they trust, those who show care and wisdom. Strength matters, yes, but it is not enough. A leader must inspire, guide, and protect. Without these, power alone fails. The queen's expression softened slightly. She had ruled with authority and calculation for centuries. She had never considered that leadership could be measured not by dominance, but by service. The concept unsettled her, as though a new world had opened before her eyes. "Your kind values bonds," she said, almost to herself. "Even the smallest, weakest human has worth beyond utility. You measure life differently than any other species I have encountered." Ryan nodded. "Yes. Every life matters. Every choice matters. That is why we endure. That is why we fight. Not all battles are won with weapons. Some are won with heart, courage, and unity." The queen's eyes glowed brighter for a moment, then dimmed. "Interesting," she murmured. "You challenge everything I know. Strength, conquest, survival, your words place them in a new order. Perhaps, humans are not as weak as I assumed." Ryan felt a cautious hope. He knew he was still a prisoner. He knew her people were capable of great power. Yet, in this moment, he understood something important: his words had weight. His honesty, his courage, his simple belief in human resilience, it was shifting her perception. She raised a hand, and the attendants fell silent. "You will remain here, human. We will continue this exchange. Your words are instructive. Your people are unusual. You will teach me, whether you wish to or not. And in time, I will decide what to do with you." Ryan bowed his head slightly, keeping his voice steady. "I will answer, Queen. I will speak of what I know. I hope it helps you understand humans, even if we are strangers to you." The queen studied him again, her eyes searching for signs of deceit or weakness. She found none. Instead, she found a strange kind of strength, one that could not be measured in battles or technology. Perhaps, she said slowly, the universe contains forces beyond conquest. Perhaps there are powers that cannot be crushed by fleets or armies. I see glimpses of such forces in you, human. It is unexpected. For the first time, Ryan saw something like curiosity in her expression, a faint acknowledgement that humans might possess qualities beyond mere survival. It was subtle, yet it filled the chamber with a new energy. Ryan realized that his role had changed. He was no longer merely a captive. He was a teacher, a witness, and perhaps a challenge to a ruler who had never known humility. Each word he spoke, each explanation he gave, could plant seeds of change in her mind. As the queen departed, her attendants following silently, Ryan remained alone in the chamber. He stared at the flowing lights and shifting symbols, feeling a mix of exhaustion and determination. He knew that the days ahead would test him in ways he could not yet imagine. Yet, for the first time, he felt hope not just for himself, but for the possibility that one human could make a difference. One honest voice could plant the seeds of understanding, even in the heart of an empire that had never known compassion. The day began with a quiet hum that seemed to pulse through the ship. Ryan had grown accustomed to the rhythm of the alien vessel, yet each time the Queen summoned him, his heart still raced. Today felt different. The attendants moved faster than usual, their glowing eyes flicking toward him as if carrying a message he could not read. The Queen entered the chamber without warning, her presence commanding attention. She walked slowly, her robes of shimmering light brushing the floor. Her eyes, bright and calculating, rested on Ryan. "Human," she said, her voice calm but filled with intent. "You speak often of hope, loyalty, and compassion. You claim these qualities give your species strength. Yet words alone are not enough. You must demonstrate them. I will give you a test. You will accompany a small delegation to a world within my domain that is suffering. Your actions will show whether your convictions hold true." Ryan's heart skipped a beat. A test meant action, not words. He had survived words alone, but now he would face reality. "I will do my best," he said, his voice steady despite the fear creeping through him. The Queen inclined her head. "Very well. You will go with them. Observe. Help if you can. And remember, your purpose is not only to survive but to show what humans can do when confronted with challenge." The delegation was small, consisting of a few aliens with light-colored armor, and a single transport craft capable of swift travel. Ryan followed them, noting how precise and controlled every movement was. Unlike his home colonies, where improvisation was valued, these aliens acted with flawless coordination. Every gesture and every step was calculated. The planet they approached was small and distant. Its surface was scarred, a mixture of barren land and dying forests. Clouds hung low, tinged with colors that Ryan did not recognize. Rivers had dried, and scattered communities struggled to survive. Smoke rose from broken villages, evidence of disasters the aliens had ignored for years. Ryan felt a pang of sadness. He had never seen a world in such distress. The humans he knew would never abandon a place like this. They would work tirelessly to rebuild, to save lives, to offer hope. He knew he could not stand idle here. The alien leader of the delegation, a being named the Wren, turned to him. "This world is dying," the Wren said. "We do not waste resources on planets beyond value. You may act as you wish, but understand, your people's methods are untested." Ryan nodded, his mind racing. "We will try. We will help them." The first villages they entered were in chaos. The inhabitants, small and frail compared to the delegation, looked at Ryan and the aliens with fear and confusion. He approached slowly, keeping his hands visible, and spoke in their language, which he had learned from prior transmissions. "We are here to help. You are not alone." The humans, yes, they were human, looked at him, hope flickering in their tired eyes. Ryan directed the aliens to repair water channels, distribute food, and rebuild shelters. He organized teams, using his knowledge of simple engineering and cooperation. The aliens watched, skeptical, yet they followed his guidance because the Queen had commanded it. As the days passed, small successes accumulated. Dry wells began to refill. Broken roofs were replaced. Children who had hidden in fear began to play in safe areas. Ryan worked tirelessly, moving from task to task, offering encouragement and solutions wherever possible. One evening, after a long day, the wren approached him. "You are achieving results that should be impossible," the wren said. His tone carried genuine surprise. "Your people's methods rely on something other than strength. What is this cooperation you speak of?" Ryan wiped sweat from his brow and smiled faintly. "We survive together. Even the smallest contribution matters. Everyone has a role. Everyone is valued. That is what gives us strength." The wren shook his head slowly. "I do not understand why such fragile beings can be so effective. Yet here, you succeed where my people would fail. Perhaps, there is wisdom in your ways." Word of Ryan's efforts reached the Queen faster than he expected. She had been observing from orbit, her curiosity growing with every passing hour. She studied him quietly, noting his calm in the face of hardship, his ability to inspire trust and action in both humans and aliens. Finally, she summoned him for an audience aboard her flagship. Ryan felt a mixture of pride and nervousness. He had acted according to his beliefs, but he was still a captive. What would she say now? "You have completed your task," she said, her eyes glowing softly. "Your actions confirm what your words suggested. You act with purpose, courage, and empathy. You have shown strength in ways my people cannot measure. Tell me, human, why do you persist when the outcome is uncertain? Why do you act even when there is no immediate reward?" Ryan met her gaze without fear. "Because giving up is worse than failure. Because every life matters. Because hope is not measured by success but by effort. We act because it is the right thing to do, not because we expect reward." The Queen's expression softened slightly. She had expected excuses, fear, or clever lies. Instead, she found truth. His words, backed by action, carried a weight that could not be ignored. "You are unusual," she said, her voice quieter than before. "I have studied countless species, observed countless worlds. None possess what I see in you. It is not strength alone, nor technology, nor numbers. It is something beyond calculation." Ryan felt a spark of cautious hope. He knew he was still under her authority, still a captive, but for the first time, he sensed recognition. His people's values, their courage, their cooperation, their resilience had made an impression on the ruler of an empire. "You have done well," the Queen continued. "You will return to this chamber, but know that your actions are being noted. Not all will accept what you have done. Some will see your success as a threat. Yet I see the truth in your words and deeds. That is remarkable." Ryan nodded respectfully. "I only did what my people would do. I only tried to help." The Queen inclined her head. "Perhaps your kind has lessons my empire can learn. Perhaps there are powers beyond conquest. Time will tell. For now, you have passed the test." As Ryan returned to the chamber, exhausted yet proud, he realized something important. Survival was not only about strength. Survival was about heart, courage, and choice. Even a single human could influence events, even among species far stronger and more advanced. The chamber was quiet when Ryan entered. The glow of the walls reflected in his eyes, and he felt a strange mix of exhaustion and anticipation. The Queen had summoned him once more, and he knew that her questions today would carry greater weight than before. Her gaze was fixed on him, steady and unyielding, yet tinged with something unfamiliar, curiosity. You have done well, she began, her voice calm but firm. Your actions on the world I sent you to have been impressive. Yet I see hesitation among my council. They whisper that a human should not influence the affairs of my empire. They see your success as dangerous. Tell me, human, why should I continue to listen to you? Ryan took a deep breath, steadying his nerves. He had no illusions about the Queen's power. She commanded fleets, armies, and entire worlds. Yet he felt a quiet confidence, not from fearlessness, but from understanding. Because my words and actions are honest, he said. I do not seek power. I only act with purpose and care. Humans survive because we help each other, because we choose to keep going, because we believe that even the smallest effort matters. That is why you should listen. Not for me, but for the truth of my people. The Queen's glowing eyes narrowed slightly, her thoughts unreadable. She had ruled with certainty for centuries. Strength, efficiency, and conquest had always been the measure of success. And yet, this human's words challenged everything she had believed. You speak of choice and perseverance, she said. Yet your people are weak compared to my empire. One human alone is insignificant. Why does your species endure while stronger ones fail? Ryan met her gaze without hesitation. Because we do not rely on strength alone. We rely on each other. We endure because we care, because we hope, and because we refuse to give up. Strength can be measured, weapons can be counted, but heart, courage, and determination are not so easily calculated. That is why we endure. The Queen studied him in silence. Her attendants shifted uneasily. They had seen many worlds, ruled over countless species, yet none spoke with such conviction or understanding. None had faced her directly without fear. And yet, here was a human, standing calmly before her, confident in truth alone. One of the attendants stepped forward cautiously. Your Majesty, he said, the human is unusual, yes, but influence over your council may be dangerous. They may not accept his teachings. They may resist. The Queen's gaze did not waver. Danger is not my concern. Truth is. She turned back to Ryan. I must know, human. How do you continue when others around you falter? How do you persist when the outcome is uncertain? Ryan thought of the struggling human colony, the lives he had helped protect, and the countless humans who had faced impossible odds. We persist because giving up is worse than failure, he said. Because every choice matters. Because even small acts can create change. We endure not for glory, not for reward, but because it is the right thing to do. That is what gives humans strength beyond what can be measured. The Queen's eyes glowed brighter, as if absorbing every word. For the first time, she questioned the principles that had guided her for centuries. Her empire had always measured worth by dominance and survival alone. Weakness was discarded without thought. And yet, this human's philosophy challenged the very foundation of her rule. You are not merely brave, she said softly, but wise in ways that elude many stronger species. Perhaps, humans are not as insignificant as I assumed. Perhaps your kind possesses a force beyond strength and technology. Ryan bowed slightly. We do not see ourselves as stronger than others. We see value in life, in choice, in hope. That is our true strength. The Queen stepped back, her expression unreadable. She had never considered that survival could be measured not by fleets, armies, or power, but by values, courage, and compassion. A slow realization began to take hold within her mind. This human, small and fragile by appearance, had begun to reshape her understanding of the universe. The council, watching from the edges of the chamber, whispered among themselves. Some were skeptical, others intrigued, but all felt the subtle shift in the Queen's demeanor. They had never seen her so uncertain, so willing to consider ideas beyond her empire's doctrine. You have influenced more than you realize, Human, she said finally. Your actions, your words, your honesty, they plant seeds that may grow beyond this chamber. They may change not only my perception, but the perception of my people. That is a power few possess. Ryan felt a quiet sense of accomplishment, tempered by the knowledge that he was still a captive. Yet he understood something crucial: even a single human, guided by honesty and courage, could plant ideas that challenge the strongest minds and the most rigid systems. Your Majesty, he said carefully, I do not seek to teach for my own benefit. I speak because it is the truth of my people. If my words can help others see value in life, hope, and compassion, then I will continue. That is all I ask. The Queen remained silent, her glowing eyes fixed on him. She considered his words, the truth behind them, and the actions he had already demonstrated. Slowly, a decision formed within her mind. You will remain here, she said at last. You will continue to answer questions and share your perspective. Not all will agree with your philosophy, but I will ensure that your voice is heard. Perhaps your people's approach has lessons my empire needs to learn. Perhaps your kind has powers beyond what I have measured. Ryan nodded. I will do my best, Your Majesty. A small smile touched the Queen's lips, subtle but genuine. You are unlike any human I have encountered. You face uncertainty with courage. You act with purpose even when the outcome is unknown. That is remarkable. Perhaps your kind can teach even the strongest species something new. Ryan felt a quiet warmth in his chest. For the first time, he realized that influence did not require weapons or fleets. Influence came from honesty, courage, and the willingness to act according to one's values. Even in the presence of the most powerful ruler in the galaxy, a single human could make a difference. You have passed another test, the Queen said. Yet the greatest challenge lies ahead. Your influence grows, and some will resist it. You must continue to speak the truth of your people, even when others oppose you. That is the true measure of your strength. Ryan bowed again, understanding the gravity of her words. He was no longer just a captive, he was a symbol of his species' resilience, of humanity's ability to endure and inspire. Every choice, every act, every word mattered not only for his survival but for the future of understanding between humans and the alien empire. As he left the chamber, his mind was filled with determination. The turning point had come. He had shown that courage, honesty, and hope could challenge even the most rigid beliefs. The seeds of change had been planted. And he would continue to nurture them, one step at a time, one word at a time, even in the face of uncertainty. The Queen watched him leave, her attendants silent. She had ruled countless worlds and conquered countless species. Yet the lesson of the human before her was one she had never expected, that strength was not only measured in power, but in choice, courage, and the willingness to endure. The human vessel glided through the vast darkness of space, stars stretching endlessly like a silver ocean. Inside, the crew moved efficiently, still alert but relieved after surviving the recent battles. Lyra stood beside Ryan, her posture confident and determined. She had made her choice to return to her kingdom, and now she was ready to face the challenges ahead. Ryan glanced at her. Are you ready? He asked. Lyra nodded firmly. I am. I have learned much from you, and I must lead my people with courage and wisdom. I will not falter. Ryan smiled faintly. Then we face this together. Fear cannot guide us. Trust will. The sensors hummed suddenly, signaling the approach of a large fleet in the distance. Lyra's eyes widened slightly as she recognized the insignia. These were the loyal forces of her kingdom, ready to support her against the traitors who had attacked her. Ryan's calm presence reassured the crew, even as their hearts raced at the sight of the approaching fleet. The fleet is organized and strong, Ryan said. We must approach carefully and coordinate with them. Together, we can face the enemy strategically. Lyra's guards moved quickly, establishing communications with the approaching ships. The humans observed silently, impressed by the seamless coordination between alien technology and human systems. Trust had grown over the past days, and now it extended to the entire crew. Suddenly, a group of enemy ships emerged from behind a nearby asteroid belt, attempting to intercept them. Ryan's instincts took over. "Prepare for coordinated defense," he commanded. "We draw them into the open and neutralize the threat." The human crew responded immediately, guiding the vessel through precise maneuvers. Lyra's forces joined in, firing energy weapons in perfect synchronization. Ryan and Lyra moved in unspoken coordination, combining human tactics with alien technology to outmaneuver their foes. Lyra observed carefully, giving commands when needed. Her confidence grew as she realized the lessons she had learned from Ryan were now guiding her leadership. Her people responded to her courage, inspired by her determination and her willingness to act decisively. Ryan twisted the helm, guiding the ship through daring maneuvers as enemy fire streaked past. "Now," he shouted, signaling the combined fleet to strike. The coordinated attack overwhelmed the enemy ships, scattering them in disarray. Lyra's strategy complemented Ryan's instincts perfectly, creating an unbreakable formation that left their opponents struggling to regroup. Amid the battle, Lyra glanced at Ryan. "Your courage has taught me much," she said. "Fearlessness is not the absence of danger, but the choice to act despite it." Ryan nodded. "And trust strengthens that courage. You acted with it before, and now you lead with it. That is how change begins." The enemy fleet faltered, their ships damaged and disorganized. Lyra's loyal forces pressed forward, ensuring that the threat was neutralized. The combined human and alien fleet held their position, showing unity and resolve. Cheers of relief echoed across the communications channels as the immediate danger passed. Lyra's guards approached, showing respect and admiration. They had witnessed her courage and the effectiveness of humans acting fearlessly. They recognized that trust and courage could unite worlds, creating a bond stronger than any single force. Ryan remained at the helm, scanning the horizon. "The immediate danger is over," he said. "But we must remain vigilant. There will be more challenges, and we must face them together." Lyra placed a hand on his arm. "We are ready," she said. "Together, we can face anything. Courage and trust will guide us." The human crew, inspired by the events, worked with renewed energy. Their respect for Lyra had grown, and they now understood the power of unity and fearless action. Fear had been replaced by confidence and determination, binding humans and aliens together in purpose. As the vessel moved forward, Lyra looked at the stars, her mind reflecting on the journey so far. She realized that true leadership was not about power alone, but about courage, trust, and the ability to inspire others. The lessons she had learned from a fearless human would guide her as she reclaimed her kingdom. Ryan glanced at her. "The path ahead will be difficult," he said. "But courage and trust will help us succeed. Every choice matters." Lyra nodded, her gaze steady. "I will lead with wisdom and bravery," she said. "I will honor the trust that has been given to me, and I will not falter in the face of danger." The human vessel moved silently through space, carrying humans and aliens alike, bound by trust and shared courage. The fearless acts that began on a distant moon had grown into something far greater, a bond between species, a lesson in bravery, and the promise of a future shaped by choice and action. Ryan and Lyra stood side by side, watching as the stars stretched endlessly before them. They had survived impossible odds, faced danger together, and built a connection founded on trust and courage. The alliance between humans and Lyra's people was now stronger than ever, a symbol of hope for generations to come. The fleet of loyal ships fell into formation behind them, ready to follow Lyra's command. The enemy had been defeated, but the journey was not over. There would be challenges, decisions, and battles ahead, yet the bond forged in courage and fearless action would guide them. Ryan spoke quietly. We have gone beyond fear. Now, we lead with trust and bravery. That is how change begins. Lyra smiled, feeling the weight of responsibility and the strength of her resolve. And that is how we will shape the future, she said. Fear does not bind us. Courage does, and trust carries us forward. The stars shone brightly, casting soft light across the vessel. Humans and aliens alike moved with confidence, inspired by the bravery they had witnessed and the unity they had found. The story of the princess and the fearless human would be remembered across worlds as a legend of trust, courage, and action. As the vessel continued its journey, Ryan and Lyra remained side by side, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Together, they had turned fear into action, uncertainty into trust, and danger into opportunity. Their fearless acts had not only saved lives but had created a lasting alliance that would endure for generations. The human vessel glided through space, carrying its passengers toward new adventures, challenges, and victories. The legacy of courage, trust, and fearless action would shape their worlds forever, proving that even in the darkest corners of the universe, hope and bravery could prevail.